Everybody, welcome to our Final Fantasy 15 playthrough. I am so excited to be playing this game with you tonight. I have been excited for several weeks now. Honestly, I've been excited since September when I first started this Twitch stream because I knew that this was the game that I wanted to play with you guys. Mainly because this is a game that I love. It's a game that I cherish. In fact, it's almost like the stars aligned this week because all over Twitter there's been crazy, just kind of back and forth discussion about what Final Fantasy 15 is. Was it a complete game when it first started on day one? Is it a complete game now? Are people disappointed with it? All that stuff. There's a lot of opinions out there, but here's what I can say from my end of things. I love this game. I love the story. And so to give you a little bit of background before we get into the actual game, my name, ProfNoctis, comes straight from this game. The main character from Final Fantasy 15, his name is Noctis. And when I first played this game, I pre-ordered it. I was a day one owner of the game when it came out. When I first started playing the game, I remember I played a little bit and then I realized not too long in, just a few chapters in, I was like, whoa, hello, welcome. Thank you for the sub, Senorita. I started playing the game and I realized that I knew this story. That this story was super reminiscent of a story that I knew. And so some of you know that I have multiple degrees in religion. I've had a whole history of, no, you're fine. It just caught me off guard. It was really loud, Senorita, which is good. It's awesome. So thank you for the sub. And so while I was playing the game, I realized this is the story of the Hebrew, the Jewish scriptures, and the Old Testament. The more that I played, the more that I was hooked that was the case. And so I literally played through the first time with a controller in my hands and a Bible at my side, and I would read through different passages that I was really familiar with and say, oh my gosh, this is the exact same, and kind of going through. So the idea behind this stream, there's a lot of people that stream Final Fantasy 15, a lot of better streamers than me, a lot of people with a lot greater following than I do, and a lot more hype things, different challenges and stuff. I have one goal when it comes to Final Fantasy 15, and it's simply this. I want to teach and get you excited about the story of this game while I also talk about some of the stories that I think inspired and informed this game. Like I said, when I was playing the game for the first time, it was undeniable that the writers, the scenario writers of this game took scenarios from the Old Testament, and I would dare say the New Testament, and put them into this game. So I'm going to kind of prove that to you over the course of 15 chapters. So a couple things that I want to make you aware of before we get in. Whether you know stories from the Bible or you don't know stories of the Bible, I hope that you get something out of this stream. And so to begin, I kind of want to just tell you some basics regarding kingship narratives. Final Fantasy 15 is a story of ascending a throne. You have a main character named Noctis, and Noctis is a prince who is not yet a king, and it is his journey of earning that throne. Now, this story follows a basic framework that I coin an Ascension framework. It's an Ascension Story framework. Every king, and dare I say every strong heroic narrative, has a core central Ascension Story framework where essentially nobody becomes somebody that is powerful, somebody that is a king. And this is no more evident than in Mesopotamian and ancient Near Eastern kingship and monarchical narratives. There's 4 parts that I want you to remember, and then I promise we'll go right into the game, okay? Every kingship story begins with a story of a trial of a king. Think Hercules fighting, the Hydra. In the biblical narrative, think David fighting Goliath, right? Every kingship story always begins, first and foremost, with a trial. Next, every kingship story has relationships. And typically there are a few types of relationships that we'll get into as the game goes on. Number 3, there is always a moment where the king-to-be is met with a moment of responsibility, where he or she has to take on for themselves a moment where it's no longer somebody else's problem, it's their problem, and they have to take responsibility, which ultimately leads to number 4. The fourth part of an Ascension story is this. It's that a king must deliver order to chaos. Now, if you've known me at all, watched any of my streams about Final Fantasy, especially Final Fantasy 1, chaos is a big theme. In fact, the upcoming game, Final Fantasy Stranger of Paradise, which is an origin story, it's a remake of Final Fantasy 1 in a more action tone. The final enemy is called Chaos, and like there's a whole meme about that, I guess. But the idea of delivering order to chaos is so critical. So, with that, trials, relationships, responsibility, and order, we begin this game.